traditional fix and flipping versus 2024 Home Equity Invoice Agreement. Traditional fix and flipping starts with a property and a homeowner. Whether that property is in the form of an empty piece of land or a more common property flipped with a pre-existing building on it, the property owner is usually distressed or in need of services for someone else to take care of their property for them, leaving room of current equity in the property or future equity that can be forced into it through renovations. The first step of traditional fix and flipping is an investor stepping into the picture that sees the wealth potential in the property. This is you, which will traditionally use outdated investing strategies to purchase the property to increase its value to then resell it. To know how much one of your top 2 costs are for the property, a local contractor is needed to determine the full, accurate scope of the cost of its renovations or build, depending on your current situation and resources. Outside capital is normally used to accomplish this. This is where a conventional bank or private lender steps into picture, which will guide, or in most cases control, what you are able to. While traditional flipping requires an investor to purchase the property, to force appreciation into it, to solve the current homeowner's situation while still being able to profit from it. The bank or lender will require property insurance and possibly mortgage insurance too. Since purchasing it from the homeowner, there will likely be a title agent and realtor involved in transferring the property. At minimum, even for the savviest investors, there is still Uncle Sam's sales tax unless the homeowner is going to be 1031 exchange buying a new property. After this team of players are gathered together, the purchase of the property will be conducted within a 2 to 4 week process, at which point you pay everyone out while using your own capital or the capital provided from the bank or lender. Then the contractor builds the additional value into the property to then be paid out, normally in cash from the capital from the investor's pocket or bank's escrow account under their control of how and when it is to be paid. Many fix and flippers are forced to paying the contractor out of their own pocket, even when a bank or lender has set up an escrow account to pay the construction out. Due to contractors or investors not having a contractor available to securely and beneficiary to all parties to use, a contractor's payment could not be pushed to the next sale of the property, or even just a few weeks until banks' and lenders' payments would finally be received. Now with home equity invoice agreements they can. At which point the home is then resold, involving again another realtor and/or title agent, to include Uncle Sam. From here, the capital provider is paid out their final profits, while the realtors and other transaction fees are paid out for you to be left with your final profits after the lengthy process of another 2 to 8 weeks to transfer the property. So, how much are you left with after it all? In the industry, there is a common guideline referred to as the 70-30 ratio, meaning that 70% of the after-repairs value of the property must cover the main costs of the property, the cost to purchase the property and the cost to renovate the property. The remaining 30% is meant to cover all other optional services to the investor to flip the property. For example, the transaction and capital costs. But how much does the investor usually make when reliant on other industry-standard service providers? An investor is usually left with around 10% of the 30% originally planned for. This leaves investors looking towards finding where they can increase their numbers to the business average of 20 to 30% profit margins, forcing them to negotiate with the contractors who put the hard work into building the real value into the property in the first place, or negotiate with the current homeowners they sought to help out of their distressed property and situation the best way possible for them from the beginning. Instead of having to negotiate with the key players that put in the real value into an investment property, we are going to turn the tables and eliminate the need for the costs on the 30% side instead of the 70% side. The investor's side that he can now control instead of needing to negotiate with the 70% side who are the key players in a property. Now, with a home equity invoice agreement, we can renovate and clear up the traditional fix and flip process. Starting from the beginning of a distressed homeowner and property, an investor, or in this case a home equity invoice agreement liaison, can now come to a homeowner and be clear with the full scope of the plan to flip the property instead of needing to hide all the numbers from them to bring your profit up. Now you can truly pay them a clear number that both of you know is the actual number they will be paid for, maximum profit for them instead of everyone else. Just as in traditional fix and flipping methods, a contractor is needed to provide a quote on the renovations, while you, the investor, are there to help the contractor and homeowner use a home equity invoice agreement, providing your fix and flipping investing knowledge of how to value a property and the right renovations needed. From here, all parties agree on the home's value after the agreed renovations. Exchange the contractor's cash value into the property's equivalent equity percentage with a home equity invoice agreement, which gets recorded just like traditional fix and flip banks and lenders' interest in properties do. The renovations are then completed by the contractor under the agreed terms with the homeowner. Once renovations are complete, the property can be resold for its highest value. All parties involved are then paid out. 70% to the homeowner and contractors. The selling transaction fees paid out from the additional 30%, leaving you now with a full normal 20 to 25% of business profit margins. Home equity invoice agreements involve far less parties than traditional fix and flipping does, by simplifying the fix and flipping process down to 3 parties. Much of the costs that would have been spent on other service providers can now be divided up securely between the main key players who put in the hard work of a property, allowing an aligned team to streamline flipping a property. Home equity invoice agreements not only simplify the traditional fix and flipping process, yet also simplifies the traditional real estate wholesaling process too. Without the need to purchase the property, there is no longer a need to have upfront fees and costs. While wholesaling is not traditionally responsible for a property ownership and debt as fix and flipping, they are still under a tight time frame to resell the property or be liable to actually purchase it themselves. While wholesaling and flippers must build long-term rapport with homeowners to get them to unknowingly let them profit from their property without them knowing or holding themselves accountable to what they are marketing or negotiating against each other. While a HEIA gets all negotiating together to maximize the property's value, making the lead generation of homeowners much smaller. While flipping and HEIAs are building real wealth and wholesaling only increases cash riches. HEIA is far simpler and easier to do than traditional fix and flipping methods. For homeowners, investors and wholesalers, start using a HEIA today. After having a home ready to sell or finding a home needing renovations that a homeowner is willing to sell after upgrading, it can be done in 4 simple steps. 1. Find a contractor willing to be paid in equity instead of cash. WealthTradie has a list of them available while providing the tools and education for any contractor to start using a home equity invoice agreement today. 2. Get a normal construction invoice quote for the renovations to be done. 3. Agree on the property after repair value and the construction prices and value to be converted to the property's equity percentage, along with the contractor and homeowner payment terms of what portion is to be paid in cash or equity to the contractor. 4. Sign the home equity invoice agreement and publicly record it to begin construction. After the work is completed, the home is resold within the time frame designated on the home equity invoice agreement. WealthTradie is at the tip of the spear in renovating traditional real estate investing. Please like, subscribe, and share this powerful knowledge to all.